What's up, YouTube? I'm here doing my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Kattar versus Ige. I purposely waited to do this video just because I knew that a couple of fights were probably going to get canceled. It just felt that way, and I think one or two of them did. So let's just start at the bottom. Now that the weigh-ins are done, I think these are the official fights. The first fight is Jack Shore versus Aaron Phillips, and to me, both these guys are primarily grapplers. I just think Jack Shore is the much better grappler. There's really not too much to say about this fight. I think it hits the ground pretty early, and I think Jack Shore is probably going to get a first-round sub. Like I said, they're both grapplers. It's going to hit the ground pretty fast. Next is Dina, I can't say her last name, versus Leanna, and I can't say her last name either. I think Leanna is probably a little bit better of a grappler, but I think overall, Deanna is just way better everywhere. They have similar names, sorry about that, but Deanna, her record's 13-5, Leanna's 7-3, and Leanna's only really a grappler. I think Deanna's much more well-rounded. She's got good striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu, Leanna's only way to win this is to get to the ground and submit her. I mean, Deanna has been submitted a few times, but, she has submission wins herself. I feel like she can hang on the ground if it gets there. But I think on the feet, Deanna just has a huge advantage, and because she's just way more well-rounded, I'm leaning towards Deanna to win by either decision or TKO. Next is Chris Fishgold versus Jared Gordon, and I could see this fight going either way. Chris Fishgold did miss weight, and I can't remember if I said it or not, but this fight, I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. It says the 16th, but I think that's Abu Dhabi. In America time, it would be the 15th, around normal time. I think it's around 6 tomorrow. I think this fight could honestly go either way. I think that they're both primarily grapplers. Jared Gordon's a little bit better of a striker, but I think Chris Fishgold, he swings big shots. It's really just kind of Chris early, Jared longer. I think Jared's got the better conditioning and better overall technique, but I think Chris Fishgold's the better, first round fighter. It's tough, but I'm leaning towards Chris. I thought he was slightly better going into this, and Jared's been finished a lot recently, so I don't know how well he's going to hold up against some of the big shots Chris is going to throw at him. It's a tough fight. Chris did miss weight by 4 pounds, but I'm leaning towards him. Next is Mode. I can't say this European dude's name. I'm just going to call him Mode versus Andreas. To me, these guys are both primarily strikers. They have a couple submission wins, but I think that was probably because they knocked the guy down. I haven't really seen a ton of video on either of these guys, but Modeus, I think is how you say his name. I think he's just the better striker. Andreas, he's 12-3, and Modeus is 10-2. I think, Andreas' all 3 of his losses have been knockout losses, and he's primarily a striker. And I think Modeus, if they're just swinging the pocket, I think Modeus is just a little bit better. It's hard to say just because I've never seen either of these guys fight, but I'm just leaning towards Modeus. I think he just, on paper, looks like the better striker, so I'm going to pick him. Next is Ricardo Ramos versus Leon Murphy. And Leon Murphy, to me, is primarily just a striker. I think that in his debut, the Russian dude was just starting to gas because he was, I don't know why. Normally that guy has great conditioning, but I think if that guy wasn't gassing, he would have won pretty easily. I think that this is going to be just like that fight. I think that the striking is probably even, but I think if Ricardo Ramos gets this to the ground, he's going to win by submission pretty quick. And this is what I see happening. I think they'll be striking back and forth until Ramos hits a takedown, and once it's there, he's going to win by either arm triangle or rear naked choke. Whether he's in mount or on his back is what the submission he's going to get. So I'm leaning towards Ramos to win by first round sub. Next is John Phillips versus Kazamat. I can't say this dude's name. To me, Kazamat, he's super young in his career. He's only 5 or 6-0, and he's taking this fight on short notice. John Phillips, he does have some overall submission issues. He does get submitted a lot when guys can take him down. He has decent takedown defense, but once it's on the ground, he does get submitted a lot. But I feel like on the feet, it's pretty close. And I also feel like because John Phillips had a full camp for this, and Kazamat, I'm pretty sure, took this fight on short notice. If Kazamat can't get to the ground in the first round to submit him, I think John is going to weather the early storm and then knock him out in the second. And I think that's just the way more likely scenario. I think John Phillips' takedown defense is at least okay. And, like I said, if Kazamat can't finish him in the first round, I think the longer this goes, the more it favors John. And I'm just leaning towards John. I think his conditioning's always been good. It's just his submission defense is bad. I think, like I said, I think second, third round, John Phillips is going to catch him and knock him out. Onto the main card, the first fight is Alabab Razak Al-Sahan, I think is how you say his name, versus Morin Lesers, I can't, these fucking names, man. Um, Alice Sahan, he's really good. He had that weird rape allegation, which turned out to be false, and he hasn't fought in forever. I know he's like 3 or 4-1 in the UFC. He's like a judo striker guy. Um, Lazarus is a really, really good striker. He's like 9-1. And his one loss is to this really good Russian dude who's 14-1, like a really good grappler. Um, I do think Al-Sahan's the better striker overall, but don't be surprised if Lazos can win this. He's a lot younger and probably has a lot more of that younger speed. Like, Al-Sahan is faster early, but he's super muscular, and he slows down really hard the longer the fight goes. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if Lazarus can, just do enough to survive the first and then start to pick up the pace in round 2 and 3 and maybe get either a decision or a knockout. I am picking Al-Sahan, but I would not be shocked at all if Lazarus can pull this upset off. Next is Molly McCann versus Tilia Santos. And to me, Santos looks like she's just a decent striker. I think she has kind of a padded record. She came to the UFC with a record of 15-0 and then lost her debut. I think Molly McCann, we've seen, has really good takedown defense and very solid striking. I don't think Tilia is going to be able to take this to the ground. I think if it's on the feet, I honestly think Molly's just the bigger girl and just hits a bit harder and throws a little bit more volume. So I'm leaning towards Molly. I think she's just going to edge out all 3 rounds in a pretty back-and-forth fight. Next is Jimmy Rivera versus Cody Stamann, and a lot of people are really down on Jimmy Rivera, but I feel like they forget his last fight against Peter Yan, where he basically won every round. It's just the first and the second he got dropped like the last 20 seconds, and that's why he ended up. I think all 3 judges scored at 29-28 for Peter Yan, but if he didn't get dropped at the last 10-20 seconds of rounds like 1 and 2, he'd have won that fight 30-27, and Peter Yan just became the champ. Like, that should tell you how good Jimmy Rivera is. Even though he's gone 1-3 in his last 4, it's like, he lost to the Brazilian guy who's the #1 contender right now, and then I can't remember the other guy he lost to, but I'm just saying he's really good. Don't count out Jimmy Rivera just yet. Cody Stamann, to me, his biggest issue is that he's primarily a wrestler, and I don't think he can keep as good a pace as Jimmy Rivera. I think even though Cody Stamann has decent striking, I think Rivera's the better striker. I think Stamann's the better wrestler, but I don't think he's going to be able to take Rivera down and hold him down. I think if this is just a straight kickboxing match, I think Rivera's just a little bit faster and more clean with his technique. And just like the Molly McCann fight, I think all 3 rounds are going to be close and competitive, but I think Rivera's just going to edge them all out. So I think Rivera's going to win a 30-27 decision. Next is Timothy Elliott versus Ryan Benoit, and to me, this fight is really close. I think that they're both like striker wrestlers with some jiu-jitsu, but I would lean towards Timothy Elliott. I just feel like he's got the better conditioning, and I think Ryan Benoit tends to fade if the fight's not going his way, especially. I think as soon as Tim starts to get in winning positions, Ryan Benoit's going to crumble a little bit, and I think Tim's going to get a submission in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think this fight will be a fun back and forth, like wrestling striking match as long as it lasts, but I think towards the end, Tim's eventually going to win by submission. Finally, we got the main event, Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige, and to me, this fight's really tough because I think overall, Kattar's a little bit better. I think that Kattar's got really good takedown defense, and he's probably a better striker overall. His biggest problem, though, in my opinion, he hasn't really fixed his leg kick problem. I feel like Zabit took advantage of that pretty well, and I think that in his last fight, Jeremy Stephens was taking advantage of it pretty well. I mean, he got caught with the elbow, but it's like Calvin Kattar still hasn't really fixed that problem, in my opinion. Like, if someone really attacks him with leg kicks, it doesn't seem like he's able to, check him or do what, Max Holloway just did, where it's like throw a kick every time you get kicked. He's really just a boxer with some other strikes. And I think if Dan can kind of take advantage of that and mix in leg kicks with his attack, then that can help even out the striking disadvantage. The other thing that I really want to see is, Kattar, he has great takedown defense, but we've never actually really seen him on a back. I don't think I've seen someone take him down the whole time he's been in the UFC or hold him down. I would love to see like what he looks like on his back. That's intangible for right now, just because we haven't seen it yet, so it might not happen in this fight. I'm just saying, I think if Ige's smart, he just mixes in a lot of leg kicks, because then that makes this fight super close, because then I don't know who's going to win. I think conditioning-wise, these guys are pretty close. And then, like I said, on the ground, it's hard to tell. This is the toughest fight to call on the whole card. I really think it could go either way. But I'm leaning towards Ige. I just have to. He's from Hawaii. Like, I genuinely do believe if he's smart and mixes in kicks, that can make the striking pretty much dead even. If he doesn't use kicks, then Kattar's going to light him up. Like, that's just the truth. I mean, if it's just boxing versus boxing, Kattar's way better. It's just the truth. But yeah, I think it's really close, but I think Ige, if he mixes up the kicks, that'll help him, and I think he might get a late finish if he starts to really hurt Kattar to the legs. So I'm going with Ige. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.